Hey guys, how's it going? CoderMan here. In today's video, I want to talk about something that I see happening at car shows and just, car events and just being around cars in general. And that's asking people how much money they make. For those of you that came for 350Z in the title, it's not clickbait. I'm actually speaking with a buddy of mine that's looking to get rid of a 350Z. Needs a little bit of work, nothing super advanced. A little bit of trim work and some interior parts and just a tune-up. So hopefully you should be picking it up in the next couple of weeks. Here's a video that he shot when he went to pick it up. And you can see, I think it's in really good condition. Like I said, it has a little bit of exterior issues and a couple of trim pieces, and the previous owner, not my buddy, but the previous owner was actually in the middle of updating it and just lost interest. In terms of performance and updates and what I'm exactly going to do with it, I'm not sure. But go ahead and leave a comment below if you have any tips or questions or anything like that. And I'm going to kind of just add this into the channel. Oftentimes people will say, hey, how much, what do you do for work? Or, how can I get what you have or whatever? There's all sorts of things that I hear people saying, not particularly to me. I have had a couple people ask me what I do for work and how do I afford this car. It's not a super expensive car, but to some people it is. And when it was newer, it was definitely had a higher price tag. The thing is, when people go to car shows and they ask these questions, they're expecting the man or woman that owns the car to say, hey, I make $180,000 a year, and if you do that, you can buy this car too. But the problem with that is it's kind of like an artificial question, because when they say, oh, I make 150 grand to buy this Ferrari, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I have to make 150 grand. But it doesn't really matter it doesn't really matter how much money they make, because there's so many other factors. If someone says, oh, I make 60 grand, you're like, oh, okay, great. If I make that much money, I can go buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. But what happens if they have investments? What happens if they have an inheritance? What happens if they're a trust fund kid? I mean, there's all sorts of factors. The question's not answered fully, sometimes at all. I mean, obviously it's extremely rude. You don't walk up to somebody and say, hey, that's a really nice house. How much money do you make? I guess for the car community, people just seem more open, or I truly don't know where it comes from. I have a bunch of friends that have exotic cars, and they're like, it happens often. If I'm at even a gas station, someone will come up to me and be like, hey, nice car. Oh, by the way, how much money do you make? How can I get one of these? And it's not so much, don't ask questions, because I think you should. If you're young, if you're a younger person, you're a car enthusiast, you're having a conversation with somebody, you can ask them what they do for work. You could ask them if they have any tips or any recommendations or any advice. Of course, don't run around asking everybody for advice, because that's, sometimes the guy just wants to drive his car and honestly probably doesn't even want to be bothered, but I guess he kind of expects it when you have certain types of cars. But the thing is, if you ask them how much money do you make, you don't really get any information. But rather than ask, how much money do you make or anything of that sort, why don't you have a conversation with them, ask them what they do. More often than not, they're going to say they're an entrepreneur of some kind. If they're more of an open book, they want to have a conversation, they may tell you what they're into. Maybe they're a pharmacist, maybe they own a software company, maybe they invented something. There's all sorts of what ifs. Just think, when you walk away, are you going to have any information that helps you? So if the guy's like, yeah, I make 150 grand, you're like, okay, great, that's what I'm going to have to go do. I'm going to start performing in school or get that new job or whatever. It just really doesn't, you don't get enough of the information to really make an informed decision. And you're kind of wasting your time. You're wasting their time. And really you can compare it to, like, let's say if you met a celebrity and everybody asks the same questions to celebrities. What was your favorite movie? How did you get started? All these different things. When in reality, if you meet a celebrity or somebody of position like that, if you ask them a question that is more just down to earth, not fanboy, they'll actually have a conversation with you. And car guys are really no different. If you ask them about their car, if you ask them, how many exotic cars have they owned? Is this their first one? What do they like? What do they dislike? They'll talk to you all day. And I'm kind of the same way. You know, if you talk to me about cars or if you ask me about my business, I'll talk to you all day. But if you ask me, you know, if you don't know me personally and you ask me something about my family, or you ask me how much money I make or how much I charge a client or something like that, you know, I'm going to be really short, because it's just an unacceptable dialogue. You know, so like I said, I've been seeing this question coming up more and more, and I've seen it happening in person more and more, and I just figured, hey, you know what? It's a topic that needs to be spoke of and kind of just put to rest. You know, the simple matter is, if you meet somebody, have a good conversation with them. You know, don't be a fanboy, don't be a gusher. You know, I mean, just treat them like a person, because that's what they are. And above all, don't ask how much money somebody makes. If you have any thoughts on this topic, or, you know, a point that I missed, or if it's happened to you personally, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below. Please subscribe if you're new here, like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.